Welcome to the Brewing Wellness podcast, nourishing UFT members, one conversation at a time. Brewing Wellness is a podcast created by the UFT Member Assistance Program to support the mental health and well-being of our members. In order to do the work you do every day and be present for your loved ones, students, and patients, your cup has to be full. Brewing Wellness focuses on mental health and wellness topics that can help us all thrive in our professional and personal lives. We'll be releasing a new episode on the last Monday of each month. Remember to listen to the Brewing Wellness podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And please, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to the Brewing Wellness podcast. My name is Abby Furman, and I am a Coro Fellow here at the United Federation of Teachers Member Assistance Program. I'm excited today to be joined by Dr. Pina LoGiudice. She is a leading naturopathic doctor and a longtime partner of the UFT. She just ended an 8-week seminar series educating our social workers and psychologists chapter. Today, we're going to discuss how to build a healthier lifestyle through sleep and nutritional choices. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Dr. Pina. So, Dr. Pina dedicates her life and expertise to helping people improve their general health and quality of life. Her private practice and office is located in the heart of Huntington, New York. Dr. Pina focuses on all aspects of women's health, including fertility, digestive and autoimmune disorders, and is a leading expert in pediatric natural medicine. She is trained and educated specifically in naturopathic medicine and is an advocate for you and with you. She is a perpetual learner who gets to the core of issues. Dr. Pina's drive and passion for helping you originally began when she was faced with health issues of her own and was thrown into a world of investigating various treatments and a close look at her own inner wellness. Her journey and discovery into her own holistic health changed her life for the better and gave her the chance for a joyous life. This allows her a deep empathy and understanding of what you may be going through. Hailed as a world expert by Dr. Oz on the Dr. Oz Show, Dr. Pina is truly a well-recognized expert in the field of natural medicine. We are so excited that you're here, Dr. Pina. Thank you so much for joining us, and I am going to turn it over to you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background as a naturopathic doctor.
Absolutely, Abby. Thank you so much for having me today. It's really an honor and a privilege. I love talking about what I do, so this is so fun. So as a naturopathic doctor, most people don't even understand what that is because they're familiar with their medical doctor and really they're not familiar with what is a naturopathic doctor. So the difference between the three doctors in the United States, so there's an MD, which is an allopath, a DO, which is an osteopath, and us, an ND, which is a naturopath. So the beginning of our medical school training is exactly the same in terms of basic sciences, anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, all of that is identical. But then we branch off because our philosophy of the human body then differs. So an MD, an allopath, is a systems-based medicine, so you're broken up into parts. So that's why you have your specialists. You have your rheumatologist, gynecologist, gastroenterologist. So you have your specialist for the different part of the body versus an osteopathic doctor. You think of osteo and bone, right? So part of their initial training is on also looking at the musculoskeletal system, and if the spine isn't in alignment, then the nerves aren't feeding the organs and joints, and that's how they believe disease can arise. Whereas a naturopath, we look at the body, the person from a holistic standpoint, mind, body, spirit. We look at the root cause of illness rather than looking at treating people suppressively with just medications. So it's not that we don't use medications, but we try to find those underlying pathways that are dysfunctional in someone and then treat those using natural means. So from my standpoint, we will look at diet, nutrition, herbal medicine, vitamin therapy, how you're sleeping, the stressors in your life, like all these factors that impact your health. And so from our standpoint, when you look at the person integratively, that's where it gives the body the best opportunity to heal.
That makes sense, and that's really helpful. Thank you so much. So I think today we're going to focus on sleep and diet changes to help our members feel better. Maybe we'll start with sleep. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the factors that affect sleep, and how can people in the helping professions with such busy schedules improve their sleep quality and feel less tired all the time?
Right. I think people underestimate that there's so many factors that involved with sleep, because I think since we've been doing it since you're born, we take for granted that it should be something easy, but it's something that oddly, as we get older and as we age, it becomes a little bit more elusive and a little bit more of a problem for many people. Most of the times is that most people underestimate that sleep has to do not only with just behavioral patterns in terms of what time you go to bed, because from that standpoint, one area that most people don't realize that there's our stress hormone of cortisol, right? So I always like to start there, because people will say, well, it's quiet at night and that's when I can get my work done, or I'm really a night owl. There really is no such thing as a night owl. What happens is that if you stay up later, you wind up elevating your stress hormone of cortisol again. And because now, even though you're not, cortisol is supposed to get you up in the morning and go down as the day goes on. But if you stay awake later than you're supposed to, you now have raised your cortisol hormone. And what happens now, it takes you 2 to 3 hours to then go to sleep. So that's why the person thinks that they're a night owl. But what happens is that when you're constantly dysregulating that stress hormone, it could even cause you, again, delayed sleep time as well as waking during the night. So that's one factor. Inflammation is also a very large factor. So most people don't realize that when there's a lot of inflammation in the body doesn't sleep, because sleep is the time when the brain detoxifies. So if the body is trying to manage all that inflammation, again, sleep can become disruptive. Another issue is also glucose and blood sugar. So people kind of eat crazy hours, people can eat too late, and that dysregulation in itself can cause sleep disruption. I know there's a lot in here, even though you thought it was a simple question. And then lastly is aspects, especially with women as we get into postmenopausal, with the drop of your estrogen can cause sleep disruption for sure. So that's, we always want to make sure you have really good hormonal balance. And then, did I mention blood sugar?
You did. You did mention blood sugar.
There are a couple things. And so, so there are all these reasons why people can have an imbalanced sleep. And of course, anxiety and worry. And so when, people have that monkey mind before going to bed, that they are overthinking. And that actually is a testament to what's happening in their gut and their gut microbiome, which the gut microbiome is their healthy bacteria in their gut. So it's so multifactorial. And so what I tell patients to do is really look at first the behavioral patterning. Make sure you're not, falling asleep with the TV on, that you're not going to bed too late. In Chinese medicine, because I'm also a licensed acupuncturist, there is a philosophy that every hour that you go to bed before midnight is actually worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight. So the ideal time to go to sleep is really like around 10:30, or if not even earlier. I like to be asleep by 9:30 whenever possible. But that really is the ideal time, that you're supporting the rhythm of that cortisol, not looking at blue light at that hour, and just not obviously watching anything stressful, because I know most people watch the news at that time, but really trying to calm the body down so that you can have a really good restorative sleep, because we are so busy. And especially you guys out there, your day is so hectic and you're helping tons of people. And I understand you need that decompression time and that quiet time, but that's when it should shift to a shorter period of time. Journaling is great, taking an Epsom salt bath, or listening to soothing music, essential oils, like very simple, basic life things to kind of support that process. Just because the day is so crazy, you do want to also make that nighttime a relaxing time.
Definitely. That is really helpful. I'm wondering, for perhaps people who feel like it's really challenging to get themselves winding down, they're like, I don't have enough time to go to bed early. Do you have any strategies for really making that a priority to get in bed earlier, to maximize those hours of sleep?
Right. There is really nothing. I will say this. I mean, next to it's sleep and exercise that are the two most imperative things for life, basically. Like really nothing does for the human body what sleep does. It's the time the body detoxifies, you repair, you restore, you reset. And so it is you choosing yourself as a priority. And that's the thing. It's very easy, especially women, not to say that men don't do this, but, let things go and do all these other things. And so I always think about, if you can on the weekend, really strategize your week about your tasks that you need to be done. And then, journaling is great. Making a task list is great. And then, and it's very easy with social media to like doom scroll and let that suck you in. And, and if you need to set a timer, I tell patients, set a timer. Like once those 10 minutes are up, you go to bed, And it's really about being strict with yourself and understanding that, either laundry could be done later, or like that TV show can be watched at another time. There really is nothing that interesting on TV, in my opinion. But, really just being more discerning and disciplined with yourself really is the best way to go.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important reminder. So as we're starting the new year, lots of folks are considering how to change their diets, change their habits so that they feel healthier, they feel better day to day. Can you explain some of the simple lifestyle changes, the bigger lifestyle changes maybe that could help people reach those goals?
Yeah, absolutely. With regards, most people, when they think about a holiday time, they think about all the different eating and drinking that they've done. And so obviously they've overindulged and they may not feel so good. So I am going to talk about diet. I don't necessarily mean about like dieting in terms of weight loss, but really about how to make healthy food choices, because over 75% of our immune system is in our digestive tract. And if we don't have really good gut integrity, then all aspects of our health will decline. So most people, if they're eating processed foods, they're eating fast foods, greasy foods, lots of alcohol, high sugar foods, all of those things will suppress our immune system and cause disruption in the body. So when I have my patients come in, one of my favorite food programs is just a very simple Mediterranean diet. There's a great book out there about the blue zones, which there are, 5 different places on the planet where people live to be well over 100. And so this guy studied, why do these particular areas in the globe, do they live so long? And one of the main factors is that they eat a whole foods Mediterranean diet. So it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It doesn't have to be anything super strict, because a Mediterranean diet does include carbohydrates, because most people think carbs are bad or all these things. So it is about not processed foods. Like, it is amazing that if someone literally just for 2 weeks took out the processed foods, not only would they, again, if they wanted to lose weight, they would, but also just how they would feel with regards to their energy and sleep quality. When you're eating those processed, high sugar foods, absolutely your sleep is going to be disrupted and it's going to be this vicious cycle. So on the simplest standpoint, I just say, just clean it up. It doesn't have to be anything too strict, and just keep the diet very simple Mediterranean, like clean, and ideally I always am an advocate for organic whole foods, just because, when you're not having organic foods, you're not getting, obviously the pesticides and the chemicals, but also the nutrient density is also better. And that's what our body needs, because, food, I'm gonna age myself for a minute, but like when I was younger and I was in school, I had those like Scantron cards when I was taking examinations, and then they put the Scantron card into the computer and then it would read the information. And basically that's what food is to the body. Food is information to the body and what we should do. So whether that we're producing those really powerful antioxidants or we're going to produce inflammation, it's either going to go one of two ways. And once you have a good clean diet, then again it's tightening up the sleep schedule, being disciplined with that, and then of course moving your body. We are, as most people forget, are animals, and our bodies are meant to move, and it doesn't need to be this, I got to join a gym or do something intensive. I mean, there is so much benefit to even simple walking, walking, bike riding, swimming, just simple things, or taking the stairs, very simple movements that you don't normally do, and decide for yourself. This is really all about self-care, because it's very easy to look at the external world for assistance, but when you do these basic things, the body heals and the body does get better. I mean, if I didn't see this for 20 years in my practice, I probably would have quit my job. But it really is quite remarkable that when you focus on these things, because I do want to mention that there is a field called epigenetics. And so most people think, well, everyone in my family has heart disease or everyone in my family has diabetes, and so this is just my genetic destiny. And it's not true. So because when you have your base genetics of what you're given from both your parents, it's what occurs above the genes, which epi means above in Greek. So it's what occurs above the genes that will turn on or off those good or bad genes. And those are all factors that we have control of: diet, nutrition, not smoking, exercise, all good quality sleep. Those are the things that will keep those bad genes turned off. So I think if people keep that mindset of that, they can completely empower themselves with regards to their health care. I think, everyone's health would be radically different and so much better.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important reminder. I'm wondering, I think there's a misconception for a lot of folks that a healthy diet is boring, it doesn't taste good, there's no dessert, there's nothing fun or rewarding about that. Can you suggest some of the maybe practical swaps if there's if someone's eating a lot of processed foods, how can they in a day-to-day move away from doing that into more of the whole foods?
Right. I mean, I think the hardest thing that, especially with people who are super busy, it is about just food prep and having things at home so it's easy for them to bring. Because when you're always resorting to eating out, then you are subject to what quality food or what quality oils a restaurant has. So that's where a lot of the inflammation will come from. So if you can decide for yourself, okay, whether you're vegetarian or you are a meat eater, it's just, again, about preparing those foods and having those simple snacks too that are just healthier choices. So I am a fan of where even if you ever want something sweet, instead of going for a regular cookie or something that's highly processed, chocolate is great. Mother Nature gave us something pretty amazing. Dark chocolate is extraordinary. I know one of my favorites, afternoon snacks is that I'll get a date. Those are crazy sweet. And then I'll put some peanut butter or almond butter in it with a little piece of chocolate. I'm in heaven. For me, it's a very filling. If I need something that sweet, or sometimes I'll just have that, or I'll have fruit. It is nature's candy. So very simple things that, again, they don't have to be boring, and it's not about denying yourself. From my standpoint, especially when you're transitioning with the new year, I say it's an 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you're good, and then 20%, if you want to go out and have with your friends and enjoy yourself, great. Life is always about the balance. So, it's when we live at an extreme and because human beings are creatures of habit, we fall into the same routines over and over. And that's when we can take pause and realize, okay, what am I doing with my diet? I love telling patients, doing a food journal. Just write down what you're eating for the week. No judgment, write it down, and you could see for yourself how much processed food or how much sugary foods that you're having, and you could even see the times of day that you're having or that need of sweet tooth. Because most times when people are having just carbs for breakfast, they're going to be more hungry, early morning or by lunchtime, and they're not going to probably make as good of a choice. Because if the body is lacking protein in the morning, it's going to completely dysregulate your blood sugar for the day. So having that good breakfast, it is the most important meal of the day, is super important. So there are these very simple ways to clean it up that doesn't need to be ridiculously strict where someone feels that this is not life sustainable. Because when you kind of keep that 80-20 rule, it is easier for you to manage so that you don't feel like you're deprived. It's, I tell patients to become more strict if I'm actively working on a condition like an autoimmune disease or something significant.
Definitely. Do you have any recommendations of whether it's cookbooks, social media accounts, things like that, resources that people can use for inspiration for this diet change?
I mean, social media is, it is a blessing and the curse. Because you can, on any social media platform, whatever, some people are Twitter people, some people are Instagram people, I don't know. But whatever your favorite platform is just type in Mediterranean diet or whole foods diet, or, if you want to try a paleo diet versus, something else. There's so many great resources out there, and you will know, the body doesn't lie. The body does speak to you. So if you're going down a certain road with a diet and you're feeling amazing, then yeah, that's great for you versus, I may not be feeling that great on it. That's when, the great thing is that you could change it and try something else and see what resonates with you most. So I don't necessarily, I have particular favorites just because, but there are a lot of really good resources out there. And, even cookbooks. I mean, now most people don't even buy cookbooks because everything's online. But, any of those Mediterranean-style cookbooks are just simple and easy. And the other thing, too, that I also tell patients, if they don't have time to food prep and they have the means, those organic food delivery services where, like, the food is already, like, all you have to do is, like, literally throw it together is a great resource. I mean, there are companies and brands that you could even, because most people find making vegetables difficult, where you could literally just buy, it's like just vegetarian-based vegetables, and you just throw in your protein, and it's an easy way, to make your life, simple so that you can eat cleanly, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Thank you. So, Dr. Pina, if you could give one piece of advice to people in the helping professions about creating and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, what would it be?
I think the most important thing, as I've gotten in my older years, is I always tell patients just to remember themselves, because it's so easy as you, want to achieve goals and go out there and all that energy's in an outward way or taking care of other people, we do forget ourselves. And, and within that, a lot of things fall apart, whether it's our food choices or sleep habits or exercise habits. So really just coming back to yourself. And I do love breath work and mindfulness, and any way of what that means to you is to bring your energy back in, and because that's ultimately is going to be the most restorative, because when you can harness in your energy and take care of yourself, you can conquer anything and do it, do whatever you put your mind to. Like, we are extraordinary beings. So I do think it's extremely important to take those moments of pause and take breath. I mean, I know for myself, every morning when I wake up, I have my moments of gratitude. I have my prayer time, and then I will do my meditations, and really and then at the end of my night, before I go to bed, I will also do a short meditation or listen to one as I'm falling asleep. And there's great free apps, to listen to something so your brain has something to connect to, and it bookends my day, and it really allows me from start to finish, to kind of remember myself, what are my goals, what am I doing, basically what am I doing, rather than feeling like on a hamster wheel. So I definitely think, that breath work and mindfulness is super important, and then, as we are here at the end of January, with that, I don't mind if people I love when people go to bed earlier, because then if they wake up earlier, they have time to do that, and they can get out into the sunlight. Actually, probably one of the most effective and best things for stress management is actually being outside in the sunlight within 30 minutes of waking. That will completely reset your cortisol and stress hormone rhythm. So I do think it's amazing if someone can do that. And obviously, with that, you get your vitamin D, because that will keep your immune system nice and strong throughout the winter months. And, really simple stuff that we forget about, but that really go a very long way to optimize your health.
So many excellent suggestions and reminders. Thank you so much. All UFT members have access to a Calm Premium account if they want to kind of get access to those guided meditations, things along those lines. So that's a great resource. They could take your advice to use that. But thank you so much. This is all really, really valuable, especially at the end of January as we're moving into this new year. So thank you for all of your input.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Once again, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Brewing Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the UFT Member Assistance Program to support the mental health and well-being of our members. If you are a UFT member, the Member Assistance Program can be reached at 212-701-9620 or by emailing mapinfo@uft.org. And once again, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.